Cyborg versus Holm. If you watch the pay-per-view until the end, though, you know I am not leading with the main event on these airwaves. The uncrowned king, Ken Flo Khabib Nurmagomedov, 25-0, 24 rounds in the UFC, 24-0 in those. Hasn't lost a round in training. And I think sometimes when guys don't compete as often as others, I tend to lose sight of maybe how dominant and how great they are. You and I called Khabib Nurmagomedov's UFC debut in January of 2012. I hadn't called one of his fights until 2013. So shame on me for maybe forgetting just how dominant this guy is. But I even think he took it to a whole new level on Saturday night. I sit here Monday morning, maybe reactionary, but I think he is the most dominant force in the game right now heading into 2018.
25-0. 25 fights in mixed martial arts, and to be undefeated is just, it's mind-boggling. It's unbelievable. And then when you consider all the guys that he's gone against and the style that he employs against these people, it's amazing to watch. And this is a guy that continues to get better. The way that he went and took away the space from Edson Barboza, just stayed right in his face, was the perfect game plan against a guy who's an extremely creative, fast, and explosive striker. So when you do that, he never allowed Edson Barboza to get in the game. He stayed right on him, and he took him down, and he just pummeled him, man. He pummeled him. He took his lunch money. It looked like an attack. It didn't look like a fight. It looked like Khabib Nurmagomedov was attacking Edson Barboza for 15 minutes. I was blown away. And to Edson Barboza's credit, man, I'm telling you, maybe like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Edson Barboza would have quit. This Edson Barboza was very motivated to get that title shot and to beat this insane human being in Khabib Nurmagomedov. Wasn't able to do it. Khabib, just too much, man. Too much pressure. And boy, the way that he hits you on the ground with his ground and pound, he gets just the right position and pummels you. It was scary to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, to see it in person, and again, for me, for the first time in the span of like a college education, right, 4+ years, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I could barely call the fight. And to your point on Edson Barboza, what a performance in defeat, right? And maybe performance is the wrong word, just effort. And we were told mentally, physically, he was just in such a good place going in. And you can see that, right? Just the fact that he was able to survive this beating over 15 minutes. I just don't know how many guys would have heard that final horn. And you're right, 2 years ago when he fought Tony Ferguson and was stopped in that second round, not to say he was looking for a way out that night, but maybe he wasn't as confident in his skills back then that if he can stay in the fight, get up, see a third round, who knows what would have happened. But I just was so impressed with Khabib Nurmagomedov coming in here and the way he just attacked the weight cut and everything that came with it. You know, I first talked to Tyler Minton in Winnipeg a couple weeks prior. He was there with Daniel Cormier, and he said Khabib then was just trending 10 pounds lighter, and on Tuesday he was at his normal Thursday weight. And we were thinking, you know, maybe this would lead to a scarier Khabib. I mean, do you feel like because he now seemingly has mastered that part of it that we can expect even better performances than we saw in, you know, Nurmagomedov version 1 in that previous part of his UFC tenure?
I think so for two reasons. I think so because, first of all, he's cutting the weight much better. He used to do it on his own. Now he has a professional in Tyler Minton who's helping him out, doing it the proper way. So he's walking around a lot lighter. He's in a better mood. Physically, energetically, he's able to do more during the fight. Yeah. It looked like he went through a stroll. In that fight at UFC 219. Right. I mean, he was not tired at the least. And here's a guy who was trying to take him down every single second of the fight, pressuring him every single second of the fight. So he wasn't just out there and floating around and dancing. He was moving and doing something every second of the fight, and he looked like it was nothing. It was a walk in the park. And number two, he had something to prove. Right? I mean, he's been getting criticism from him being injured all the time or supposedly being injured all the time to a guy who can't make weight. And so I think he had that chip on his shoulder, and he wanted to make an example out of Edson Barboza and show everybody just how damn good he is.
So, Kenny, Joe Silva tried on several occasions to book this fight between Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson. He was obsessed with that fight. I remember after Tony Ferguson beat Edson Barboza, we were in a van together going back to the host hotel. It was 2 years ago, December 2015. He gets on the van, and, of course, me total reaction in the moment. Tony had just won $100,000 in bonus money. I'm like, you got to give Ferguson a title shot, Joe, right? And he's like, dude, A, you're not a matchmaker. B, I'm making this fight between Khabib and Tony Ferguson if it's the last thing I do. And Joe sits around probably watching this pay-per-view thinking about this fight that still hasn't happened. I mean, Kenny, is that not the dream mixed martial arts fans fight right there at 155 pounds between those two monsters?
Well, there's two things that Tony Ferguson has that can compete with Khabib Nurmagomedov, and that's his heart and that's his conditioning. And I would love to see it go for 5 rounds, because the only way I see Khabib maybe getting a little bit frazzled out there, or maybe getting a little bit tired, or showing some kind of weaknesses within 5 rounds. I'm hesitant to even say that, but that's the only way I see it happening. 3 rounds is not going to be enough for you to take out someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov. So just that alone makes it very interesting. Also, the fact that these guys were supposed to fight 3 times before.
Right.
So, yeah, this is absolutely a fight I want to see. I don't know if we're going to see it. I mean, is Tony going to fight Conor? I imagine that's going to be the fight that Conor takes next. I don't know. You know, he keeps making references to, like, he needs to get paid and people need to beg for him and all that stuff. Yeah. I think he wants a dance partner that's going to help hype up this fight a little bit more, and have the UFC pay him enough money to where it becomes worth his while. This is a guy who's got, $100 million in the bank. He can live off of his interest for the rest of his life and his kids' lives and their kids' lives probably. So, yeah.
Right. He should be on that Bitcoin train like Ken Flo ahead of the rest of us intellectually all the time. So who is the lightweight best equipped to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov? Is it someone like Conor McGregor who has that left hand? Is it Tony Ferguson? Pistol to your temple or to save a dog's life. Which lightweight are you sending to make that walk to beat Khabib? And I'll give you about 30 seconds as I expand on this. Dustin Poirier was on these airwaves a few weeks ago, Kenny, and we asked him, who's the toughest fight for you at 55? Khabib Nurmagomedov. That is the answer from most of these other lightweights when you ask them. So you're trying to rescue a dog here, Kenny. You've rescued a lot of dogs in your life. Rescue another one. Tell me the lightweight best equipped to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov.
No one wants to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think the one guy who could possibly do it right now at 55 is Conor, but I don't know, man. Here's the thing. You need to be heavy-handed. You need to be accurate with your strikes. I don't think Khabib, the way that he shoots in for takedowns, he doesn't really shoot in for those low-level leg attacks where he's going for a single or a double necessarily. He gets to the clinch, and that's a safer way to get into the clinch, right? It's a safer way to take your opponent down, and he's got the skills with his takedowns, with his sambo background, with his wrestling background to put you on your ass from that clinch position. Very few people know how to do it as well or as efficiently as Khabib Nurmagomedov. I don't think Conor can stop the takedown. If he can catch him coming in, if there's one guy that could possibly rock him and catch him coming in with his hands, it is Conor McGregor. I think when you talk about his hand speed, his ability to find angles, his ability to land a shot that you don't see coming, it is Conor. Do I see Conor beating him at this point? No. I just don't. I don't think he can keep him off him, man. I really don't. I think there's very few people right now that can do it. You have to have amazing wrestling. You maybe have to put him on his back. You have to be able to circle away from the cage repeatedly and move your feet for 25 hard minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know if there's a lightweight alive that can stop him. You're going to have to be one hell of a wrestler and one hell of a boxer.
See, it's like giving you anxiety because the dog probably ain't getting rescued, because they're probably not winning that fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov. So, and I even, you can even reference that Abel Trujillo fight, which people do a lot, right? 4-year collegiate wrestler Trujillo. And I know, and we're talking about mixed martial arts application of wrestling and sambo, but took him down 21 times in a 3-round fight. Sean Shirk had the previous record, who you fought 16. It was over in a 25-minute fight.
Exactly. And that's insane. He shot 28 times. That's the kind of conditioning that he brings to the octagon. When he's just shooting 28, of those 28, he hit 21 takedowns. And of those 21 takedowns, he hit against a guy who was an NAIA wrestling champ. A college champion, and Abel Trujillo took him down like he never wrestled a day in his life.
Right.
Scary.
So, and I think Nurmagomedov, not only does he already have one of the bigger fan bases in the sport, top 10, certainly on this roster, in my opinion. Carlos Condit, by the way, I think is in that mix just in terms of the fan base. Combination, casuals, avid fans, and he can be an absolute superstar, Kenny, if